Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we will be looking of how to implement a UI slider in your iPhone application. So what I will start with is a UI slider. Let me start with a new project. I go to Xcode, new project, and let's start with a view-based application. So next, and I say UI. Let's call it slider. Caps lock is on. Slider project, just call it slider maybe. Slider, save it in our in the desktop, and once I save it there, let's see, we have all the files that we need. And let's start it with doing using interface builder, and then we'll move on to the code part. So let's make two sliders and two different labels. And let's start with our tools, with a library of tools. So first I need is a UI slider. So I drag and drop a slider in my screen. Let me increase the size for this. Let me set the properties, minimum 0 and let's say maximum 100. So if we're going from 0 to 100, what is the current? 0.50. Let's make it 0. That shows the initial position. Continuous minimum image, so you can set images for this. A bunch of different things you can do with your slider. We'll just keep it this way. And next thing I need is a label where I can display what is the value that was selected on the slider. The slider by default doesn't show the value, so I'll just increase this label. Let's go to the label properties and make it blank initially. So there's a blank slider, everything set up. Now what I need to do is go to the file owner, which is a view controller file. So let me go to the view controller file and write some code for it. So as I mentioned before, so for interface builder we create outlets. Interface builder outlet, and the name of the object slider star slider, and next object is the outlet UI label. Make it label. So these two things. Next I need uh, is a function which gets called when the value of the slider changes. So I will call it IB action and say slider changed. Call it that. Copy that, implement it in the implementation file, and now we need to connect the elements with the code. So let's go to the, so you see label has appeared, slider is there, so let's connect them. So it's connected, and next is the action. So when there's no touch, there's touch up inside, but for this we'll do it for value change. Every time the value changes of the slider, we need to display the value. So then go back to the function now. So when the slider value changes, it will call this function, and we'll call it label dot text equal to string. We saw how to create strings last time. String with format. This time instead of giving a object, I'm gonna give a float value, because slider dot value, if you look at it, it's a float value. So I'm gonna get a float back, so I want to display that float. So there you go, we have it set up. Let me run it and let's see if it works. It opens the iPhone simulator, and here we go. iPhone simulator application loads up, window loads up, on top of that the slider view control loads up, and we see our slider. There we go. Now if you see, there are a lot of decimal places. What if you want to have only 2 decimal places? This comes from C again. So if I just want 2 decimal places, plus 0.2. If you want 3, you put 0.3. So you'll see 2, 3 decimal places. So there we go. That's our slider. Now I'll make another slider just below it, a little bit more below it, and do it programmatically, so we know how to do it programmatically too. So the first function that's called view did load. Let's uncomment that. go below it, UI slider star slide. Let's define this in the .h file. So I can say IB, not IB outlet, UI slider slash star slider code and UI label slash label code. Okay, so we have both the elements defined in .h file. Let's write the rest of the code here. Slider code equal to, we have to allocate and initialize it. Allocate, initialize frame. Where do I want it? Let's say I want it at 10. I want it way below 100. Width is 300. Height is 30. So there we go. A slider is there. And slider code dot, we set minimum value. So let's that also. Slider dot maximum value equal to 100 again, or let's change it to say 50. And let's see, slider code dot code dot value equal to, what is the current selector? So for this one, let's keep it t.0 and self dot view add subview slider code. You can also release the slider since you allocated it. We'll look at more of this on in memory management, so I'm not going to touch it right now. So that's our slider is added. Now we need to add the label code. Label code is equal to label allocate finished with frame cg rect make call it 10, 140, 300, 30. So given that, we also give background color. We want to make it transparent, clear color, and add it to the view. Yeah, code. There we go. So our label is added, thing is added, but we didn't write any code right now uh, to call the function when the value changes. So same as button, you can say add target. And where is the target located? Self. What is the action? It's a function selector. Let's say slider code change. Okay, for control events, UI event UI. What are we looking for? UI. Let's say events. UI control events. UI control event. What did we say? Value changed. So event value changed. There we go. So once we have that, take this function name. It's not IB action, so I'll say void slider change, and let's say what is the name of the label, code dot text equal to, let me copy this. It's exactly same except it's slider code. See if it shows up or works. So as you see, it's up till 50. This is 0, so change that, reduce 0 to 50 to 50. So it works. That's it. That's it for slider. We'll look at some more of the elements in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.